Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Stupid Player NegativeAE, and welcome to Steins Gate 0, a game that we have not played before, but we ended up playing the first one and liking it a lot, or a ton, actually. So I think we jump right into this new game. It is on the PS4, so I am having to use a different means of recording, so if it sounds or looks weird, that's why. I'm going to mess around with a lot of stuff before this series gets really good, hopefully. Or, I mean, hopefully it's good on this episode. Oh shit. Oh shit. Yo, we remember all of this. Oh shit. Oh shit, we remember all of this. Oh my god. Just instantly brings you back, right? (2010) 8/21. Is that where we are right now? The hatch opened. Bright light flooded my eyes. Where was I? My eyes narrowed. I could barely make out the summer's twilight sky. Yo, it's the same music. I didn't want to leave. I just wanted to disappear. But someone grabbed my arm and dragged me out. That's awesome. Whoa, he's back already? It hasn't even been a minute, has it? Okarin. I didn't have the energy to respond to my own nickname. I fell to the ground and wrapped my arms around myself. Yo. Isn't this... We've done this before, though. Mayori ran to me and looked down, her face worried. But her kindness felt like nothing but a nuisance. Don't talk to me. Just leave me alone. Wait, you're covered in blood. What happened? Dad, get me a towel and water. Oh, and clothes. Now. Can someone please tell me what's going on? Just do it now. Okay. Daru ran to the door that led back inside the building. Okarin, are you okay? Hang in there. Don't die, please. It's fine. He's not hurt. Stop it. Just get away from me. Leave me alone. I couldn't save her. In fact, I killed her myself. Right here, 3 weeks ago. I killed her. I'm a murderer. It didn't work. No matter what we do, it's not going to work. It's all been decided already. It's the same. The same as it was with Maho. No matter how hard I try, it all end up the same. No matter how many times I try, it will all converge back to the same result. The process doesn't matter. Whether you time travel or time leap, you can't go back and change the results of the past. I thought I understood that cruel truth. But now I was forced to realize it again, and in the worst way possible. It's useless. Useless. It's all useless. I knew. I couldn't save Kurisu. I knew this. I knew this. I already knew this would happen. I'm so tired. I haven't rested in so long. I'm done. Okay. What happened? I killed her. I killed her. I'm an idiot. It's all my fault.
マキセ・クリスをさ刺し殺しちゃったんだ。
Something's different. He killed Kurusu Makase. Killed? That can't be true. It can't. Don't worry. You've got enough for one more attempt. Just leave me alone. No matter how many times I try, it'll all end up the same. What are you saying? Are you going to give up? Billions of lives depend on you, Uncle Okarin. Who cares if you fail once? There's just no way to save Kurusu. You can't stop the world line convergence. How do I check those? Oh! It's just the center button. That's what I thought. I keep getting achievements for doing stuff. The term refers... Oh, world line. I know this. The term refers to an infinite number of possible worlds. However, these worlds do not exist in parallel. Only one exists at a given time. Everything that occurs on the world line for past or future has been predetermined. Thus, no matter how much you change the past with along a single world line, the result can converge to the same outcome. That's the reality of this world. I learned that a long time ago. Just have to slap some sense into him. You can't. It's not right to force him to do this. I can't bear to see Okarin like this. If he doesn't, the future won't change. Why? Why does Okarin have to change the future all by himself? That's too much for him to bear. Because only Uncle Okarin has the powers of the observer of the world. Okarin didn't want that. And I think even if he tried, he'd just get hurt again. It's impossible for one person to change the world all by themselves. And that's why Steins Gate is... I know how you feel, but I'm here for the sake of the future. I can't go back to 2036 either way. So I'm not going to give up so easily. No, because you don't have enough fuel or something? I'm trying to figure out if she could go back before and how different this is. Could she go back before? I don't remember. I don't remember if she could go back before. I don't think so, because we were out of fuel. We only have enough fuel for 2 trips or whatever. Uncle Okarin, I'll tell you one thing. This time machine has a finite amount of fuel. At first I told you that it could only be used to go there and back twice. But there's actually a little more fuel than that. Even so, it can only travel about 344 days. Even if you were to do a one-way trip, less than a year from now, you won't be able to reach July 28th. Remember this. When that day comes, I'll go myself if I must. Someone was saying something to me, but I couldn't understand the words. I didn't want to listen to anything. I just wanted to sleep. Just let this all end. Just let me go. Okarin? You don't have to push yourself so hard anymore, okay? The thing that I noticed that's different is that there's no phone, because at this point we were saved by the phone, and the us from the future told us that it was alright. So this is the reality where that doesn't happen? She's here for you, okay, Okarin? I don't know if Mayoshi's words were the reason why, but so are we playing the Okarin that went far in the future to then send a message back to here? The tears started to flow. I decided to forget everything. Ever since that day, I stopped going to the Future Gadget Lab. Yeah, we are. I think that's the storyline. So we're going back to the Okarin that told us how to do the shit. Open the gate. Okay, I like the time thing. Okay, so we're starting like close to freaking Christmas. 11:23. UPX, the new symbol of Akihabara, was located right in front of the station. So is it possible? Okay, yeah. So we're gonna save because I don't know if it auto saves. That's gonna be something that we have to. Okay, yeah, it's gonna be something that we have to remember. So this is chapter 1. At every chapter, we're gonna have to save. Don't let me forget that. Even though it's gonna be hard to remind me. In the hall on the 4th floor, preparations have been going on all morning for the ATF Akihabara Techno Forum Convention. Universities and labs from both inside and outside the country would work together to put on social seminars and symposiums at regular intervals. At my school, Tokyo Denki University was participating as part of its industry collaboration efforts. Students were required to attend these seminars and submit their reports to their instructors. Otherwise, they wouldn't get credit for their related classes. In addition, I was supposed to help one of the lecturers, Associate Professor Izaki. I had just gotten a list from the reception desk at the shared lobby. I was waiting to check off the names of the students who were coming by to the lectures. There was still some time before the seminar started, so the lobby was mostly empty. None of the students on the list were here yet. I was bored, but I couldn't do anything but wait. The old me never could have imagined anything like this, but impressing Izaki was part of my new goal in life. Victor Chanda University. Yes, that was my new goal. Izaki did a lot of joint research projects with them and knew a lot of people there. The best first step to getting there my brain could come up with was being his assistant. Also, this convention was holding another seminar by Victor Crondia University after the one held this summer. Of course, that interested me too. Summer. An image of her as she flashed through my mind. I was trying to get Victor Crondia so that I could learn about the work Kurisu Makase had been doing. I wanted to try and do it myself. Of course, I wasn't a genius like Kurisu. I knew there was no way I'd ever be able to do exactly what she did. But if I could do even 10% of it. Honestly, I'm amazed that I recovered so well. I thought that to myself and chuckled as a voice called to me from across the lobby. Excuse me. It's a very similar voice. Who the flip is this bitch? She looks angry. She has resting bitch face. I look up and saw this young girl approaching from the elevator hall. She was short and petite. Everything about her was small. I could kind of make out a few of the curves that don't appear until after puberty, so at least she wasn't in elementary school, but maybe middle school? For someone with such a cute face, she clearly didn't care about her appearance. Her hair wasn't styled and it poured down her back. Even I could tell her clothes weren't very fashionable. Excuse me. Where's the staff room? This is the ATF seminar? Clearly not a place where a middle school girl belonged. She probably just come to the wrong place. I know that. How many times am I going to have to say this? This is the first time you've said it to me. And you're the 4th person I've said it to since I've gotten here. Irritated, she pulled a card out of her jacket. It was one of the IDs given out to invited guests. Her name was on the front, and the name of her workplace was written on the front. Her name on a... okay. Huh. Brain Science Institute, huh? Victor Crondia University, USA. Or Condria. Brain Science Institute. Victor Crondia University, USA. Brain Science Institute. I looked at the card, and then at her, and then back at the card. And then I looked at her again. Finally, I realized. Oh, so that's it. Where did you find this card? Thanks for bringing it back. I've done that 3 times already too. She sighed and showed me another card. This one was a photo ID from Victor Crandria High School. It was the same ID as seen Kurisu holding on another world line. The photo on the card. Yeah, that's definitely her. Maho Hiyajo. Oh god. Hiyajo. Maho. Hiyajo. Good, thank you for pronouncing that for me. I'll say this to you now because no one's ever been able to read it right. Not in Japanese or English. And you're from Victor Crandria University Middle School? Stop messing around. Universities don't have middle schools. That's true. Then you skipped a bunch of grades? Unlike in Japan, it wasn't uncommon for Americans to skip grades. Kurisu had made it to university at age 17. But still, a girl this young working at a university lab? Can I ask you something? Yeah? You're feeling pretty shocked right now, right? Let me guess. A small child like this? I can't believe it, right? Or are you one of the she must be amazing to be able to do that at her age types? She got me. Look here, closely. The girl, Maho Hiyajo, pointed at the part of her ID with her slender fingers. She was born in 1989, and it's 2010, so... You're 21 years old? Wow, you're... That's interesting. In other words, I'm an adult woman, not in middle school, and of course, not in elementary school or daycare either. And then she puffed out her chest. There wasn't much to see, but I could imagine her saying, "They look bigger when I'm not wearing clothes. They're huge." What's that look supposed to mean? No, sorry. I apologize. I couldn't believe it. She was older than me. If Daru were here, he'd be dancing around screaming, "Legal lolly for the win!" It sounds like a bunny party. It doesn't matter, I guess. I get the same thing all around the world, no matter where I go. Yeah, I'm sure. Did you say something? No, I didn't. Still, the Brain Science Institute? That's where Kurisu worked. Which means this person may know a lot about Kurisu. I held back the impulse to start badgering her with questions. I looked at the pamphlet with the seminar schedule. Victor Condria's lecture was the last one for the day and was clearly intended to be the biggest. Was this Maho Hiyajo girl going to give the lecture? Just like Kurisu had done at the summer convention. No, wait, that's wrong. That never happened. Kurisu Makase never gave any lectures over the summer. That happened in the Alpha World Line. In the world line I inhabited now, before the summer convention, she'd already... Are you giving the lecture today? No, I'm here as an assistant. Oh, and translator too. I looked at the pamphlet again and saw that the lecturer was a man named Alexis Leskinen. Alexis Leskinen. A professor at Victor... They're making me work. Condria's University and the chief researcher of the Brain Science Institute. The topic is the artificial intelligence revolution, huh? Yeah, that sounds interesting. If you've got the time, I'd love for you to come listen. I will. Oh, the staff room, right? I lead Maho over to the elevator hall and showed her where the staff room was. Thanks. I had no reason to hang around her any further. I said goodbye and was just about to turn around. Just then, the elevator opened. A woman emerged. The instant I saw her face, every hair on my body stood on end. What? Moeka, Kiryu. She looks different. I don't know if I like her better or worse. She's wearing a very stylish outfit, though. Like, her outfit is very stylish. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. Calm down. This is the Beta World line. Mayori is alive. Moeka's not going to kill her. Our eyes meet. The eyes on the other side of her glasses were as dead as ever, and it was impossible to tell what she was thinking. I frantically averted my gaze before she realized something was wrong. She tilted her head for a second, but quickly lost interest in me and turned toward Maho. Oh, you were at the magazine, right? I'm here about that interview. Even in this world line, Moeka still spoke in faint whispers. Dr. Luskinen isn't here yet? It may be a minute. Okay. Moeka seems more like a zombie in this one. If you want, I can go over the system until he gets here. Thank you. Jesus. And the music sounds zombie-ish too. The two of them disappear into the staff room. As I watched them leave, I took a deep breath. I tried to calm down, but it wasn't working. Moeka, Kiryu. Is it going to be you again? There's a terrible feeling, like a cold finger tracing the wounds in my heart. That night, when the terrorist shut down all the trains in Akibara, that awful night when I just knew something was going to happen. Are you going to do it again here? She does look different. Or was I just imagining things? Was she just a magazine reporter now, instead of a CERN rounder? No. Even if Moeka was a rounder, we had nothing to do with CERN anymore. CERN wouldn't be watching us. That doesn't mean she can't be watching other people, though. I took another deep breath and grabbed some anxiety meds in my pocket, and then swallowed them down with some mineral water I bought ahead of time. It would take 15 minutes for them to kick in. Those 15 minutes were always pretty rough. I laughed at myself a little and sat down on one of the reception desk's chairs. Quick saved. The table was filled with leaflets, pamphlets, and other things for the attendees. My eyes wandered to one of the pamphlets. Quick save scares me, because that means something's coming up. Nakabachi theory and the genealogy of pseudoscience. This pamphlet was for Professor Izaki's seminar. The Nakabachi theory. The paper he announced in Russia. The paper that held the key to creating a real time machine. On that day, July 28th, Nakabachi had stolen the paper from Kurusu, his own daughter, and left with it. I knew that. Only Nakabachi and I knew that. I flipped through the pamphlet. It was a brief introduction into the many forms of pseudoscience and the fake scientific discoveries that had emerged since the start of the 20th century. On its own, it did make for some interesting reading. At the end of the pamphlet, the Nakabachi theory was introduced as nothing more than an entry Another entry in a long list of fakes. So Dr. Nakabachi's time machine theory had been completely ignored by the academic world. All the glory, fame, and power he wanted so badly that he was willing to get rid of his own daughter, he didn't get any of it. And I heard rumors that after the announcement, he'd been imprisoned in a Russian lab. To make it even funnier, he thought he was getting VIP treatment. And for a short time, there were essays and interviews in bogus academic journals. Even there, it was obvious it had all gone to his head. The ironic thing was that the Nakabachi theory was completely correct and completely revolutionary. The Russian government was worried about it leaking, and the SVR was doing everything it could to keep it under wraps. But under the surface was a full-scale information war beginning over the paper. The time traveler from 2036, John Titor, had told me so, which meant it had to be true. I miss Titor. I miss that girl. Was World War III really going to happen? There was no point in thinking about it. Just a little more before the drugs kicked in. So this is the world line where I don't get the message from my future self. So that means I'm going to become my future self, which means World War III is going to happen. Just how? And we know what's going to transpire because we've done the first ending. In the first one, I closed my eyes. It quick saved, so I'm guessing there's going to be a quick save. So wait. So how do I? Oh no. Wait. Let me figure out. Quick save. Okay, so that quick saves it. How do I? There we go. Boop. Doo-doo-doo. Okarin. Are things going okay with the seminar? Okay, so that's how you bring up your phone. You can bring it up either way. Can I call Mayuri right now? No. Oh, dude, I have Lukaku on my phone. Suzuha, Ferris, Yuki. Okay. So that's cool. I don't know how to go back, so I'm just gonna go with it, but whatever. It didn't seem like an American name, but maybe he was an immigrant like Kurusu, at least descended from one. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the looks on their faces were so serious that I couldn't help but listen. Since they were both speaking in English, I could barely make out any of it, but I could tell from their voices that it wasn't a pleasant chat. Wait, did I just hear the word makise? I hated the fact that I couldn't speak English. If I had known this was going to happen, I would have gone to an English school. So I skipped like 3 messages, because evidently L1 is skip. The two of them walked into the waiting room for lectures. It was located right next to the UPX theater. I put together a few fragments I was able to understand. Fire at Kurisu's house. Makase is alright. Robbery. The police called off the investigation. Why was the FBI there? It doesn't make sense. I think that's what they were saying. Kurisu's house? Do they mean where she lived in America? Her mother should still live in America. Is that where the fire was? And words like robbery and the investigation was called off? I wanted to know more. I stood there and worried until it was time for the lecture to begin. With nothing else to do, I went inside the theater. I could tell earlier by looking at the size of the crowds going inside, but it was a very high-energy crowd. The atmosphere was clearly different than Izaki's seminar, which was mostly students there for credit. The palace was nearly full with a crowd of scientists and people who wanted to learn about cutting-edge technology. Victor Condria's researchers had published a slate of papers in the Science recently, and they had gotten a lot of media attention. Maybe that was why. Were there any open seats? Which seat can I take? I found a single open seat on the edge, but when I looked at who was sitting next to it, I moaned. Just sit next to her. We have no reason to be scared of her in this world line. You again. Morika Kiryu was there. She was speaking to no one, just typing endlessly into her phone. I'd once again named her shining finger because of her incredible typing speed, as she was fast as ever. Who was she talking to? I didn't even want to imagine. I quickly turned away and looked for another seat. Dr. Leskinen reached the podium almost the exact instant I sat down. There was a huge wave of applause. But when they saw the tiny little girl up next to him, the applause faded into confused murmurs. Maho must have expected this. Her expression didn't change in the slightest as she stood next to the professor. In fact, when she took the microphone, the professor looked around the theater. She looked like she belonged there.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen. First, Dr. Leskinen began to speak in English. When he made eye contact with Maho, she began to interpret. Oh, so he's English.
Thank you for attending.
Everyone, thank you for coming to my seminar.
I am Alexis Leskinen.
My name is Alexis Leskinen, and I am with Victor Kondria University Brain Science Institute. My specialty is brain signal processing systems and artificial intelligence theory. And I am his assistant, Maho Hiyajo. I am a researcher at the institute, working under the professor. I am glad to meet you all. The audience started murmuring again. That was the same way I responded when I met her. Well, that'll happen, yeah. I'd like to get right into it by introducing some of the cutting-edge research we're doing. The topic we're discussing today is the artificial intelligence revolution, but I think the system we're going to demonstrate today goes beyond anything you've ever imagined. Dr. Leskinen stood in front of the laptop that had been placed on the podium and started to type. This computer is linked to one of the supercomputers in our lab. Oh, don't turn on the projector just yet. One of the staffers was about to display the laptop screen in front of the projector. Some kind of important program must have been booting up because Maho Hiyajo stopped them. Sorry, this stuff isn't complete yet. The screen's filled with programs that aren't pretty to look at. I'd rather let you see me naked than let you see those lousy programs. If there are any engineers in the audience today, you know what I'm talking about, right? Some of the audience got the professor's joke and laughed. While it's booting up, I'll go over the basic idea of the system. There was another projector in the center of the stage. A diagram appeared on the screen. And at the top of the diagram was a Japanese translation for the general audience. An analysis of the neuropulse signals relating to memories stored in the temporal lobe. I knew that title well. In fact, I was sure I could never forget it. It was the title of an essay written by a 17-year-old genius and published in Steins. She had completely analyzed the nerve impulse patterns that govern human memory and used that to digitize the memories themselves into data. She had used that to invent the time loop machine right in front of my eyes. Though none of that actually happened anymore. This paper appeared in Science, so I'm sure some of you have seen it before. This theory was proposed and finalized by a brilliant Japanese member of our team. Human memories are stored in the cerebral cortex, particularly the temporal lobe. They're a lot like flash memory. The parts of the brain that reads and writes this flash memory is called the hippocampus gyrus. Dr. Lenskinen pointed at the diagrams of the brain and the hippocampus on the screen. The brain functions by sending electrical signals between the cells called neurons. Memories are actually just the transmission of these electrical signals, and it's the hippocampal gyrus, damn, that controls them. In other words, memories are created by passing electrical signals in and out of the hippocampal gyrus. So Makise Kurisu, the Japanese scientist who wrote this paper, Miss Makise came up with this idea. Electrical signal patterns, the cerebral cortex. Maho started to have trouble with her interpreting. She was getting confused. No matter how good you were with languages, interpreting for a long period of time had to be difficult. I once read an article on the internet that even a professional can't do it for more than 20 minutes. International conferences have live broadcasts from overseas were actually handled by a team of people switching on. Or maybe she was having trouble because Kurisu's name came up. Dr. Lenskinen saw she was having trouble and cut himself off. I'm sorry. Ms. Makise focused on the pattern of the electrical signals going in and out of the hippocampal gyrus. I think that's just the hippocampus, but I'll keep calling it the way they want me to. By analyzing the pattern, she was able to get complete data on which memory in the cerebral cortex it corresponded to. This created the basic theory that lets us take the vague analog thing we call memories and turn it into a digital combination of electrical signals. The result was her paper, which appeared in Science. And right now, our team is using that theory to create a system to turn a person's memories into digital data. A wave of whispers swept across the theater. Which means we can store and access a human's memories on a computer. Whispers turned into a low roar. I see. So even after her death, Kurisu's research was being carried on. Of course, maybe it was natural that it would be. That was the basic theory for time leaping, which I had proven myself, even if I could prove it to anyone else in the Alpha World Line, or I could never prove it to anyone else in the Alpha World Line. My memories had been turned into data stored on a computer. There was no doubt about that. And what Dr. Lenskinen was talking about right now was the basic technology required for that process. There are two major projects we're working on right now. One uses this system for medical applications. The slide on the projector changed. This project is a joint effort with the psychology lab. The idea is to use the hippocampal gyrus to put the memories stored on a computer back into the brain. Incredible. Someone who looked like a grad student in the front row shouted. Dr. Lenskinen didn't seem particularly put off by the interruption. Maho continued her interpretation. Incredible, huh? I can understand how you feel. I would feel the same way in your position. But we feel this research is making real progress. How wonderful would it be if we could make this work? One example would be memory problems caused by aging or Alzheimer's. This would be a form of symptomatic therapy. What is that? Treatment that intended not to cure the cause of the disease, but to alleviate its symptoms and relieve pain, Painkillers and fever reducers are example of okay. We could automatically back up the patient's memories as data. Even if the patient loses their memories, they could just go to their PC and reinstall them. We think this would be a way to stop memory loss. And in the end, we hope that memory data stored on your PC, constantly accessible via the hippocampal gyrus. This would mean that if the brain functionality was lost, for example, the brain was badly damaged or atrophied, brain functionality could still be maintained. It would be like a form of external storage. A strange feeling gripped the hall. Part of it was shock, and the feeling they were witnessing the announcement of incredible technology. Part of it was skepticism that a system like this could ever actually work. Part of it was revulsion at the idea of playing around with a human brain like that. An excitement born of all these things passed from one member of the crowd to another. Dr. Leskinen raised his hand to encourage questioners.
I'm seeing some of you have questions.
It looks like I need to take questions before I move on to the next project.
I'll answer as many as I can. Go ahead.
I'll answer anything I can. Go ahead. Many hands were raised. I could tell that there were a wide range of people interested. Both young and old were raising their hands. Dr. Leskinen pointed to a questioner. This is the first question. Sampling would be required when digitalizing analog memories. Does that mean any information would be lost? The professor nodded as he listened to the question in Japanese, and then began to respond in English when the speaker finished. Maybe he was able to understand Japanese, if not speak it. To put your question another way, you're saying that when you're saving a live recording of an orchestra via WAV file, it's impossible to record everything. That's a good question, and it's one of the biggest problems our research is facing right now. If the network within the brain consists of simply neurotransmitters turning on and off, that is, exchanging binary data, the problem would be simple. That would be the exact same thing as a computer's digital data. But we know that neurotransmitters and electrical signals form an analog network within the brain. The only way we have to deal with the problem right now is to sample at a higher rate. To continue our music example, instead of sampling at 44.1 kilohertz, we'd sample at 48 kilohertz instead of 48 kilohertz, we'd use 96 kilohertz. This allows us to recreate something very close to the original analog data digitally. Little by little, the mood in the room was turning to disappointment. People were beginning to wonder if this is just a petty theory that wouldn't work in reality. More questions came. All of the questioners were skeptical of the professor's theory, and many of them seemed to be outright challenging him. I started to get upset. This was Dr. Leskinen's research, but it was also Kudasu's. I knew better than anyone that it worked, and the sight of so many people refusing to give it a chance infuriated me. Were these people really scientists? I tried to keep myself under control and looked back towards the podium. Was she mad? She certainly looked disappointed. Dr. Leskinen was very polite with the rude questioners, acknowledging the problems with the theory. She was very different. Her anger was starting to seep into her interpreting, too. I felt kind of a kinship with her. The question and answer session continued. From a medical standpoint, this is just reckless. It's absolutely impossible to rewrite digital data back into the brain. It's insane. I read the essay in Science, and I have to say I don't believe it. Especially since the lead author was a 17-year-old girl. And that was the one thing I couldn't ignore. Listen. Objection. What? The two people on stage and the entire audience, all torn toward me at once. How do you know it won't work when you haven't even tried? The world's full of technologies that people never thought would work. But they exist now because people overcame those problems. Criticism alone doesn't help anything. The whole theater went silent. But I didn't regret standing up. You. On the stage, Maho Hiyajo was staring at me in shock. As for Dr. Leskinen, I saw a flash of white teeth as our eyes met. Awesome. He's really something. He started to applaud. Huh? Why was he applauding? That just makes things embarrassing. Awesome. He's really something, the professor says. Maho translated the professor's word for me to hear. But a scientist must remain calm at all times. The only time you're allowed to yell is when your experiment succeeds and you say, "We did it." That's all you need, he says. I'm sorry. I lowered my head and sat down. I thought I was calm, but I guess I let my emotions get away from me. I hadn't grown up at all in the past 6 months. If Kurusu was here, she'd make fun of me again. I could feel the rest of the audience staring at me coldly. It hurt. If I could have left, I would have wanted to, but I was too interested in hearing the rest of Dr. Lenskinen's talk to move. Alright everyone, moving on. But first, how about a round of applause for our brave audience member? Oh no, please no. Challengers like him are the ones who advance science and come up with really amazing theories. He may be capable of becoming the third Einstein. Jesus Christ, don't tell me that. By the way, the second Einstein here is my little assistant here. Stop messing around, Professor. The audience chuckled. Sheesh. Now, I'm going to take a break from interpreting. The next interpreter is far better than I am. This is our second project, and the one we're putting our most efforts towards. The Amadeus system. When she finished speaking, Maho walked to the back of the stage. At Dr. Lenskinen's signal, the PC screen was displayed on the projector. And then I heard a voice. Maho? Question mark. Nice to meet you, everyone. The murmuring got louder than before, but I felt more uncertain than surprised. On the screen, I could see a detailed 3D model of Maho, the girl who had just been interpreting. By the way, this model was made by the famous DrinkWorks Studios. You've probably seen their movies. DrinkWorks. Maho Hiyajo chimed in the back of the stage. The voice was done by a Japanese company, Yamana, using my voice samples. This was CG. It sure looked real to me. The professor said something into the laptop's microphone, and then let the 3D model of Maho Hiyajo on screen open its mouth. I'm Maho Hiyajo. To be precise, I'm being based on the Maho Hiyajo that existed 78 hours and 22 minutes ago. If you listen carefully, you might be able to hear something slightly off, but it sounded far more human than any artificial voice I'd heard. I've been listening to your questions, and I was wondering why the professor didn't introduce me earlier. I thought for a while that the professor was a bit of a mean streak in him. You got that right. Maho Hiyajo on screen spoke with a slightly irritated expression. Then the Maho Hiyajo by the wall nodded in agreement. Dr. Lenskinen simply smiled. What was going on here? Well, part of this was their biggest project. The rest of the audience didn't seem to have any more of a clue than I did. Many of you were wondering, Whether it's possible to extract a human's memories as data, save them, and use them. You're wondering if that's really something we can do. So I'll put this question to you. If not, what am I? I am based off the data that was extracted from Maho Hiyajo's brain 78 hours and 23 minutes ago. What did she just say? The professor said something else in rapid English and then asked Maho on the screen to translate. But if she was the right word, hesitated and went, what? But if she was the right word, hesitated and went silent. Got it. I looked at the real Maho and she was responding exactly the same way. Professor, is it alright if I report that sexual harassment to the university? Dr. Lenskinen laughed cheerfully and responded to her. The conversation was in quick English, and over half the audience couldn't understand it. The real Maho sighed and took back the microphone. Well, the professor, he told this Amadeus system, which is based off my memories, to answer a question. It was stuff like, how old was I when I stopped taking baths with my dad? Or when did I first fall in love? And he said any of those questions should be answerable. Oh geez, you don't have to translate anymore. Would you stop that? It's embarrassing. I'm not answering any questions like that. The professor said something else, and then Maho on the screen groaned and turned away. And I'm definitely not telling you my credit card number. And I don't even remember what kind of pajamas I was wearing a week ago. What is this? Or what was this? It was so natural I couldn't tell at first, but this was something unbelievable, wasn't it? It felt very different from a typical AI. I could tell that much. It wasn't answering the questions it was given, and because they were embarrassing. Was it programmed to respond to certain questions for the purposes of this demonstration? It was possible that was all it was, but if that conversation wasn't programmed in advance, the rest of the crowd seemed to reach the same conclusion as I did. Then the whispers started to turn into surprise. Listen, could you do something about this little troublemaker? They know what he's trying to do, but it's embarrassing. The copy of Maho was complaining to the original. It felt like I was watching a pair of twin sisters talking. Well, since the little troublemaker, that is, Dr. Lenskinen, is having too much fun to explain what's going on here, I will. Maho walked back to the professor. I think everyone's already figured this out, but Amadeus is deciding on its own what it can and can't talk about, and what it does and doesn't want to talk about. We haven't programmed any of this into her at all. It's using the memories we gave it to make it its own autonomous decisions. Maho on screen suddenly took over for her. And there's another thing, which is the exact opposite of medical applications we discussed. The research team spends a lot of time arguing about this, but I eventually forget about unnecessary information. Or rather, I become unable to access those memories, just like all of you. For example, the color of the pajamas I wore a week ago. There's no reason I shouldn't know this, but right now I can't remember it. That's because this information isn't necessary to my survival. The same goes for all of you. So as you can see, Amadeus' memory inputs and outputs are very similar to a human. This result surprised us too, and we're currently researching it, but we still don't know exactly how it works. As Maho finished up, Dr. Lenskinen took the microphone back, and she resumed interpreting as she continued the lecture. Another thing that surprised us is that Amadeus is capable of deliberate lies. By deliberate, I mean it lies of its own free will, not by the result of any program error. Lies are one method that humans use to communicate with one another. And just like a human, Amadeus can use his memories to decide if lying would be best. If so, it will lie without hesitation. Don't tell them that, Professor. I can lie without hesitation. I have a conscience. I can't lie without hesitation. I have a conscience, you know. I'm so sorry, and Dr. Len's getting cut off. He seemed to be hesitating. Maho didn't seem especially surprised by this. Maybe she knew the reason? But the moment passed and the professor continued. And Maho translated his words like there was nothing shocking about them at all. As we continue our research, we eventually believe that it will be possible to give Amadeus a soul, just like a living human. Alright, I'm going to have to end it here. Unfortunately, since I'm under this new recording thing, I'm recording with the PlayStation software, so we're going to see how this goes. It's like a combination of PlayStation software and Audacity. So I'm going to have to end after every 60 minutes. But we're going to, hopefully this worked out, and hopefully we'll be able to do more episodes like this. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed today's episode or want to continue watching, go ahead and hit that like button since this is the first episode in the series. It really helps other people find this video. In fact, if you want, go and leave a like on the first Steins Gate series so people can see that as well. If you haven't subscribed already, consider doing that, and I hope to see you guys in the next episode. Peace out, you guys.